I remember Kevin Hart's special came out. They said 22 million watched his special. I mean, that's
Jesus Christ.
Super Bowl would jump off a cliff if it had that
Yeah.
rating. And that's so many people for that stand-up
Right,
special.
right.
That's maybe the most ever in the history of stand-up.
Yeah.
But for the NFL, 130. I mean, you're like the
Yeah,
numbers
but
are all kind of.
so doesn't
I mean,
that
that's
doesn't that speak to what you were saying about when you finally want to just be done? Like, I guess it's about whether you want to do it. Like, do you want to write the TV show? Do you want to then do a movie? Do you want to keep going into these other mediums? Because you can get to the top of what you do, and then there's always just a whole other field where you're back at the bottom. Like, there's always going to be something to keep going if you want to.
If the desire to do it is there. So the desire, like I don't really audition for shows, and I haven't in a long time, because I did learn that like that I didn't like it. I didn't want to be just a person on a show. Like I can only do this accent. I can really be me. Like so, like if someone maybe hired me to be me, I could do it. But like, I'll like if I could, if I get something crazy, I'm not saying I wouldn't audition. Like if it's something really cool, but like I'm not just hitting every audition out there. Like that desire is kind of gone, where it was there a long time ago. Then I know that it went away, and so then I go, okay, like you kind of learn that like you do grow past stuff, and so sometimes you do think like, oh, I think I want that, but then I wonder if I got it, would I want it? Like, am I just getting it because I think I'm supposed to want it? And you got to sometimes think about that kind of stuff. So then maybe your goals just kind of like you're trying to make your goals not be,
As wide,
just gigantic thing. I'm trying to narrow the goals down to then be goals that can be reachable. Then I can put my whole mindset towards this goal. I would love to sell out Madison Square Garden. I started in New York. That would be just it would just be a gigantic deal. I'm from here, but I do love New York, and like I learned how to be a comedian in New York. So like for me, I kind of look at that as like, all right, how do I get to that? How do I do it? It's not necessarily, it doesn't mean a TV show, like because that's there's a lot of comics that are on TV shows that no one knows they do comedy. Being known as a stand-up comedian is a big deal. So like I've always wanted that. You want to be known, like when you think of me, I'm a stand-up comedian, and like that's what I love. And so it's like, but stand-up comedy is how you sell that out. Like being good and writing an act is how I would sell that out. Right. It's not going to necessarily be for being famous. People don't go buy, like we talk about Brad Pitt. If Brad Pitt said I'm doing a show at Madison Square Garden, I don't know if he could sell that out. Like,
right? Because what are you going to do there? Yeah. Of course.
What are you going to do? I don't know if like that stuff matters. I mean, Colin Quinn said it on that comedian, the old Seinfeld thing. If anybody's ever watched that, they should go watch that on Netflix. So when Seinfeld was rewriting his act, but he's like, if Jack Nicholson got on stage, they'd give him 5 minutes of grace, and then they'd be like, all right, Jack, deal some jokes to get out of here.
yeah.
Like, because there is that. You're like, everybody's like, wow, I can't believe he's here. And then but after a minute, you'd be like, all right, dude,
that's enough. Yeah, we've seen enough.
That's enough.
Yeah.
Enough.
Do you think
gotta have something to be selling?
Do you have a time frame in mind? Like, do you think about when you'll sell out the Garden? Or is it just something that you like want to do eventually? Or are you like, by 2020, whatever, I want to do it or something like that?
I don't always try to put timetables on it because I don't know what's going to happen. Say, for instance, we talk about this show, but say I do get a show and that derails my touring maybe for a little bit. So maybe that time, I don't want to hold myself to something. I just know the goal is there. And so I know I want that goal. So I don't, it's like, and I wouldn't say that I've had that be a goal it's not like 5 years ago, this was the goal. I don't try to put anything too far ahead. I don't want it to be, I got to feel comfortable to know, I don't want to be like, well, that's crazy.
Right.
Like I can't, but in my head, I think, I still have to do other things. I still need to probably sell out Radio City,
there's stepping stones to go.
There's a ton of tickets.
Yeah.
There's so truth, that could be more of a goal, but like, I don't know. I feel like recently I've just kind of been like, all right, like if I want to sell out the Garden, I don't think I sound crazy saying it. That's basically all
No,
I'm saying.
not at, well,
You
that's
don't want
why
to
I
sound
asked you if
crazy.
you have a time
There you
frame,
go.
because I think you could do it. I don't know. I mean, I'm a big fan of your act, so maybe I'm skewed, but I don't think it's very far off, bro.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't. I mean, I hope not. But it's. But you know, it was almost like you just kind of after this last special, which I was very happy with. I don't think it's, you know, it's like you're just getting compared to yourself. I don't think, obviously, I don't know if it's as good as, I don't think it's as good as the Tennessee Kid. I think there was stuff in it that was really good, but it was a different scenario. And I mean, you're just, the way we did it, there was definitely bits and jokes in it that I thought were really, really good. And I've learned that to be like, you realize like, all right, this is kind of a journey. It's a bunch of specials that you're going to put out. You do want every special to be better than the last. It's almost impossible to do.
Yeah.
The way people find you is always going to be usually people's favorite. They need to be good enough to be like, you're never losing people. And then people are like, man, they're like, they still love it. And it's a, you know, it's a library that you're kind of doing. So you're hoping to be like, when you're
I mean, I think of it,
done.
I kind of compare it to sports in a way where it's like, you want to keep getting better every year. But I think as long as you're performing at a certain level in your prime, you know, you could be like, you know, LeBron in 17 had like his best year ever. And that doesn't mean that 18 and 19 were like bad. It's just like, well, that was his MVP caliber year.
Yeah.
But as long as
Yeah.
you're staying like at a certain, above a certain threshold, so maybe the Tennessee Kid will forever be like your funniest special. But as long as from ages, you know, 30 to 40, whatever, you are at a level that's like, this was, you know, I was pleased with this level of comedy. I don't think you can ever hold. I don't think it's possible to ever just keep getting funnier, because it's a, you know, subjective thing where it's like, it depends on what was happening in your life. Your life was funnier or crazier or more interesting at the time you did that last special. It's going to be better comedy.
Yeah. Yeah. You gotta, yeah, you're always striving to be better, but you got to look at it as like, as long as people are just like really, really laughing and they're having a good time, it's like, yeah, it's a library. I like sports analogies too, because it's like, yeah, if you're a LeBron fan, you've never bailed on him. He hasn't won every year.
Right.
And then you're like, but you're still like there with the same passion that you have at the beginning. And so it's like, and when you look back at it, I mean, it's in the moment, it's easy to look at this special and be like, I don't know if it's as good as that last one. But I do think it was great. And I thought it was very unique. And I honestly, this one, I might remember more than I remember any other one, just because of how kind of unique it was. And so but it is like, I look at everything as being like, as long as I can kind of keep this consistent, there's no drop off.
You know what? You just can't have like the Tiger Woods. You can't just have these like, you know, fall off a cliff, disappear, where you have to make like a comeback. You just got to keep it steady enough, and then have, you know, ups and downs within that prime.
Yeah. Never put too much pressure on. I do that with jokes. I never try to be too far away from a laugh, because I don't want to ever put too much pressure on one laugh.
Really? Interesting.
The farther you get away from a laugh, like the goal is to kind of have you like even just like chuckling a little bit throughout all of it. And then the last thing is bigger, but it's like builds up to it. If I make you quiet for 2 minutes, the whole time you're like, well, there's going to be
when's
some
the laugh? When's the
payoff.
laugh? Yeah.